everyone, it's Misty here from TheJollyFatElf. Thank you so much for joining me. So today is the final day of Gingerbread week, but it's also the 25th, and that means it's time for another Crafty Elves collab post. So if you're unfamiliar, I will try to remember to leave a link to the video from October, but Michael from World of Michael Trent reached out and asked if I wanted to be a permanent member of their little Crafty Elves collab, and I said yes please, because it's a Christmas card on the 25th of every month. Yes please. So it just happened to work out that the last day of the Gingerbread week is also the day for the Crafty Elves collab. So I'll have everybody else's information linked down below. So these two cards are the same color palette that I've been working with the last couple of weeks. The supplies from these cards actually is what prompted that leftovers card that you saw earlier in the month. So I'm using two different kits from Queen & Company, and I'm going to be using some paper that was just on my desk, and I'm going to walk you through how I made two little cute shaker cards. All of the cards you've seen have been listed in the Etsy shop. I can't promise that they're still there, but they are available, or they have been listed, and you can see what's available by following the link in the description box down below. So before we head over to the craft table, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment, whether that's a heart. Let me know what you thought about Gingerbread week. Should I do another one? And make sure you go check out the other 3 people who are who are Crafty Elves participants. So yeah, head over to the craft table with me and we'll get started. Not gonna lie, I didn't even realize that the 25th was Black Friday when I was filming the intro. So happy Black Friday. If you're already been out shopping and now you're home, welcome home. I hope your trip was fruitful. I refuse to shop in stores on Black Friday. I did it one time, and that was enough. That was enough for me. Okay. So as I mentioned, I'm using 2 different kits from Queen & Co. One of them I believe is called the North Pole kit, and the other one is like Heartfelt Holidays. I couldn't tell you which one is which, but they're pretty easy to spot when you're over on the website. So someone asked me about this magnetic holder. It's from Twiddly Inks on Etsy. She has several different designs. She also does like a magnetic embellishment holder, but I have 2 of these. I love them because you guys know I am the queen of misplacing things, and I haven't lost a die yet, knock on wood. So here are all of the leftovers that I have on my desk from the last couple of weeks, and I decided to go ahead and stick with my aqua and pink, turquoise and pink color story. So I am going to be cutting down a piece. I think this is, this may be snow cone, but I think I bring in Coastal Cabana. And I cut that down. I cut down a sheet to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I'm going to adhere these 3 papers to the front. And then I'm going to cut this out with stitch die. So we have papers from MFT and then a couple of papers from Queen & Co. One of them is from the Bundled Up kit, and the other one is from that ornament kit that I told you guys about. But really any kind of colored like cardstock, pattern paper in these colors will do. Man, I've talked a lot today. I'm worried that I'm going to end up losing my voice, so I am trying to make sure that doesn't happen. So I am pulling in this kind of circle die, scallop circle die. This is from their surprise party kit, and I love it because it cuts out the circle and it cuts out the frame around it. And I knew that it was big enough that I could use this house or the gingerbread man. So it took me a little bit to get this adhered, but once I did, we were golden and good to go. So I do end up cutting this down to a regular size card base, and then cutting it out with a scallop die. Not scallop die, stitch rectangles. My stitch rectangles are mostly from Pink and Maine. If they're pink, they're from Pink and Maine. I do have some wonky rectangles from MFT that I use sometimes, but what you've seen me use this week have been those stitch frames from Pink and Maine. So we're back on the regular blue cardstock, or that snow cone cardstock, because I messed up the other one and I was like, you know what, I don't even want to put it on the card base. We'll just put it on this and then we'll cut it out. And that's what I did. I did bring in a couple of thin pieces of cardstock to kind of serve as, like I would use ribbon, like I used them in the place of ribbon, so to speak. And I really love how this turned out. I felt like it needed something to kind of ground those patterns, but also give me just a little bit of more visual interest, but also just a difference between the two, or between the three. Pardon me, excuse me. And again, I really love this layout, and I end up using this layout, or a very similar layout, on both cards. So this card is sold as a set, and as I said, I don't know if they've already sold out. I don't know, because they're going to be listed after I do this voiceover, and this is going up later in the month. But I wanted to make sure that they looked like they were meant to go together. So once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and get this ready to go through the die cutting machine. And then I'm pulling in, you can see there, I want to say this is Bermuda Bay that I cut out the circle from. It may not be, it may be a color from MFT. I honestly can't remember. So I'm using the outline die and the outline die to cut out a darker pink, and then I'm going to use this lighter pink for the front of the house. I am using the adhesive sheets for this. I completely forgot to do that for the gingerbread men, and I hated my life for it, but I remembered to do it today. I also have a small square of just some white glitter paper. I'm going to be cutting out the roof line, like the frosting for the roof, the front door, and then later I come back and get the little frosting that goes on the chimney, and I'm cutting that all out of glitter paper, and then the other two are just out of regular cardstock. So I think I mentioned before that I went ahead and purchased the outline dies for all my kits, and I highly encourage you to do the same, especially if you can afford it. I just felt like it was necessary, so I wouldn't have to cut them out all the time, and then I wasn't cutting straight, and blah, 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 blah. Story of my life. I was never like a huge One Direction fan. I think I was probably too old for that, but I've been listening to a lot of Harry Styles, like Falling. I don't know why. I mentioned on another channel that I've gotten into The Voice Germany. I know. For some reason, that was like recommended to me on YouTube, and I was like, oh, I'll check this out. And I've been obsessed. And so I've been watching a lot. And of course, that song is a very popular blind audition song. It's also a very popular kind of whatever they do on The Voice kind of song. And I was like, so I've been listening to that a little bit. And I'm a Taurus, if you guys didn't know that. And one of our personality traits is like, we like to listen to music on like repeat for hours on end. So for days on end. And so of course, once I started watching Harry Styles, then I got recommended, some One Direction. And that's, the song that's been on repeat today is The Story of My Life, which, I mean, the video is kind of bright and cheery, but the lyrics are not. Okay, so I'm doing the fun part, which is putting together our cute little gingerbread house. And since everything was on adhesive paper, that made this super duper simple. I'm going to bring in that leftover piece paper. If I didn't already show it, I probably will. I'm going to cut out the wreath using that paper because I wanted that color. I wanted to I already did. So yeah, I just used that piece paper left over from the first card of the month and used it to cut out a wreath. And I go back and put that down with scissors because for some reason I could not get that to stick. So here you can see where I pulled the other one up and I was like, we're putting this back down. I don't care. So I don't care what happens. And you may also notice that there's a white speck on the top of that pattern paper. I don't know how that happened, but that's completely scratched off. So I'll share with you how I fixed that in just a couple of minutes. So now it's time to get everything adhered to the background. So I'm deciding where I want the frame to go. So I'm going to adhere that circle flat, and then I'm going to use some of the art glitter glue to get this down. I could have used the adhesive sheet for this, but again, I wasn't thinking that far ahead. I'm going to also use some of that art glitter glue to adhere the house to the circle. Isn't it so cute? It's so cute. And then I decided that I wanted to add some trees to the front. So I pulled out some more of those trees. I mean, you guys, I still have a ton of this stuff left over. I don't know. I'm trying to do zero waste, but there's only so much I can do. Ooh, yeah. So once I've done this, I'm going to go ahead and bring in the stamp sets. I pulled all of my Queen & Co. stamp sets out because I knew one of them talked about gingerbread. There were actually a couple of them that talked about kind of sweet Christmas wishes or gingerbread wishes, etc. So I went ahead and pulled all of them and then looked through it to pick out a sentiment. And again, I went with the same sentiment on both cards because I wanted it to be, I wanted them to go as a set. And then once I decide on one, I'm going to bring in my Misty, and then we're going to put this down. And this is a brand new stamp for me, so I am going to rub it on the back of my hand per usual, the side that stamps, and I'm going to stamp this. This is an ink from Stamp Anything. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's Shocking Pink. Is that the right word? That might be what it's called. So I'm going to go ahead and use the smallest of my stitched rectangles to cut out the sentiment. So the way it cut, the sentiment is closer to the bottom. And so when I brought in the same rhinestones from the other day, and I decided to go ahead and use those on the wreath and also use them on the door. And then I used them also on the top of the sentiment. And that kind of took up whatever space that I had in there. And this is where I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to adhere this with glue. I thought, you know what? This is from Scrapbook Adhesive. That's why. The one from Amazon is like, once it's stuck, it's stuck. But this one, not so much. So I had to add some liquid glue to the back of it. I'm using the pale pink rhinestones. I believe this set is from Stampin' Up! eons ago. And here I'm just going to add them to the top, just kind of getting them spaced as closely as I can. And again, this is just to kind of use up that space on top. And then I decided to go ahead and bring in, this is what I put in the inside of the shaker. These are some things that I want to say Leslie sent me. Thank you again, Leslie. And I decided to go ahead and bring in some more of these candies, and I'm positioning them so I can cover up that boo-boo. And then they look like they're intentional and not just like I'm trying to cover something up. And I'm just using glue dots and using my paper piecer for that. And when that's done, this card is done, and we're going to move on to the next one. So I was playing around with the colors. I was playing around with the layout, etc. And this is before I decided that I wanted both of them to look similar. And these are what the leftovers I had. And so I was trying to decide, am I going to change the layout? Like, are we going to do horizontal? I honestly just could not decide. So here you see me bringing in the original card and going, okay, so I had to go ahead and cut bigger pieces because I had used up the other ones, which was fine. So I'm just using a scrap piece of gray cardstock that's cut to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Just so I have enough space to cut it out. Then we're going to put this cardstock in the middle. And I don't even think this is cardstock. And if it is cardstock, it's like cardstock from Michaels. I believe this is the paper that I use in my stencil storage. So yeah. And then I'm going to bring in pink to go like I did on the last one. And like I said, I'm trying to keep the layout as close as possible. It's not exact, but pretty close. I just brought in a scrap piece of paper so I wouldn't get tape runner all over my desk. Been there, done that. Takes a lot of alcohol to get off. So So I've done that, and here I am bringing in that stitched rectangle die once again, and then I am going to cut out the gingerbread, not only this solid outline, but also his other outline that goes on top of the shaker out of that same kind of turquoisey color. And I'm cutting out the circle out of this pink. I think this is raspberry or something from MFT. It looks neon on camera, and it looks pretty neon in person too. I'm not gonna lie. Initially, I was gonna go with kind of the same color as this blue, but I didn't have a full sheet near me, and it just wasn't wide enough. So I went ahead and brought in, you can kind of see the plastic bag down there. That's where I keep my scraps. And so I am going to be putting this on a piece of Bermuda Bay cardstock. So I went ahead and cut out both of the gingerbread men, of course, from that. Oh, I'm not. I'm putting it on pink. Oh, Misty, I swear, your brain. I literally just watched this as I edited it. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing that we did on the other side. I'm going to add the circle, and then I'm going to adhere the scallop with some art glitter glue. I had the hardest time getting this started. I should have probably picked up the fine point, but I didn't. Whoever said that it takes a lot to get the right pressure, you were not lying. You were not kidding. I'm on the struggle bus. Hopefully I'll get it done at some point. So again, this is where I wished I had used the adhesive tape. And this is also where that cute little gingerbread man from the leftovers card at the beginning of the month comes from. So they didn't necessarily get posted in order. I knew that I wanted Gingerbread Week to be in the month of November, but I also had some other things that I wanted to go live before then. So I'm just making sure that is where it needs to be. Going to again use some of that art glitter glue to get the this adhered to the acetate. But again, I do wish that I had used the adhesive paper for this. Going to bring in some of those same candies to put in this, and then I add just a little bit of seed beads. You guys who have been with me for a while probably remember that I used to make ornaments, and I probably had 100 pounds of seed beads that I picked up from China. So I sewed a ton of them, and that was like 4 or 5 years ago, and I still have some that I'm using. So I like to add those into. So I had a little spot that kind of popped up. So I was, and it had a little bit of adhesive. So I'm just using my craft pick to kind of pick that out and get it out of the way. This craft pick, pokey tool, whatever you want to call it, from Tim Holtz really does come in handy. So I am peeling off the adhesive backing from the foam, and we're going to get this little dude adhered. So initially I wasn't sure. Like, I was like, where? Oh, no, it has a little tiny face. The die for the face is little tiny and baby, like teeny, teeny, tiny. And also for the rickrack that goes on to make it look like frosting, so tiny. Look, you can see just how tiny it is. So I used that same glitter paper that I used earlier. You saw how small that piece was. And I ended up cutting out 4 little pieces of quote unquote frosting that I put on him, and then his eyes and his mouth. I mean, these are teeny tiny die cuts, like teeny tiny. They cute, but I don't know that they're this much household cute. Maybe I need to invest in some thin rickrack. Is it rickrack? Excuse me. Is it rickrack? Lord, I don't remember. Anyway, if I could turn back time. But the issue is I didn't like the look of the rhinestones as the face. So I may need to play around with it. But yeah, they were little, and look how tiny they are. Little, tiny, and baby. Little, tiny, and baby. That's my song for Roxy. Little, tiny, and baby. Little, tiny, and baby. Kitty cat. She has about 50 songs. She probably has 50 songs. Probably have 50 songs. For sure. Excuse me, I yawned. I apologize. So I'm trying to get the mouth to stick. I'm like, oh my word. So I was struggling with that. And then I got the eyeballs on. And then I decided, instead of doing like buttons, like the little tiny baby buttons, I believe I just brought in some rhinestones for that. But yeah, this was the hardest part of the whole process for both of these cards, was putting on these little tiny things. And so they just released a new kit. It sold out like immediately, and it's adorable, but talk about tiny pieces. Oh my God. Oh no, I'm using the little, what did these come out from? These little pink things. Oh no, they're what came out of the circle. That's right. So they came out of that circle. That scallop circle. And I'm just using the little pieces. I just put a little bit of glue on a scrap piece of paper, and I'm using that pokey tool to pick it up and to put just a little bit of glue on the back, and then we're going to get it adhered down. And once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment, this time on pink rather than the blue. If you notice in this video, I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt. We had about 4 days of fall. 4 days of fall. And then we had a cold front come through, and we ended up with tornadoes all around us. And then we went back up into the 80s, and now we should be fall. Hopefully it's fall. Again, I'm doing this voiceover like on the 7th of November. So we're supposed to have be in the 50s by the end of the week, but that doesn't mean anything. The weather has just been, I hate when we get bad weather this time of year too. I don't know if those of you who've been with me probably remember, but in 2015, there was a huge tornado, literally about a block and a half from our house. And it was the day after Christmas, and it was terrifying. I hate tornadoes anyway, but when they are out of season, it makes them dangerous. And I just, we were under a tornado warning for a little bit, but it was east of us, it wasn't close enough to us. We live in a fairly small county in Texas, but even then it just wasn't close by. So I am bringing in, I want to say this is 5949, BG 59 or 49. I'm coloring in some of those blue rhinestones, so I have a color that more matches what we've got going on. And again, I'm going to repeat the same process on this as I do on this card as I did on the other one, including the candy that goes around. And once I do that, that's the end for these two cards. And that means it is the end of Gingerbread Week. What did you think? I kind of like this. I think I have a Yeti week. Let me look on my calendar. Let me consult my content calendar. Yeah, we're going to do a Yeti week. I'm going to do a nativity week, the week leading up to Christmas. We're going to do some home decor. So there's still some more things to come. I'm going to be posting on Christmas Day, because that is a day for the Crafty Elves again. So you will see a bonus video with me on Christmas Day. I am going to try to shoot for 1 or 2 videos a week going forward into the new year. But here's a look at them. This is normal speed. Didn't they turn out so pretty? I love this color story. I love it so much. I cannot wait. So here's a look at all 4 of the cards I created this week. Thank you again so much for joining me. I really do appreciate you. Again, if you're in the US, I hope you had a happy and safe Thanksgiving. If you're shopping Black Friday, I hope you got what you wanted. I hope you have the most spectacular weekend ever. We are counting down to Christmas, and I'm right along with you. So I hope you have a good day, night, weekend, wherever you are. I love your faces. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you Monday. Bye for now.